A chance for you to win in just over an hour's time. We're paying a visit to the Mint Mansion here on ITV1 after Grand Prix highlights.
I need refueling.
I'm sorry.
Your call is important to us. Please hold.
Hello? Hello?
Swiftcover.com. Car insurance without call centres.
So far it's been to Bahrain and Malaysia, and it's revelled in the Aussie atmosphere in Melbourne. But there's nothing quite like the Formula One World Championship arriving in Europe, especially when it arrives at Imola for the San Marino Grand Prix. Whatever the first 3 races of the season brought to the championship, this particular corner of northern Italy adds motorsport history, passion and style.
She's got big thoughts, big dreams, and a big brown Mercedes sedan. She wants to lead the glamorous life. She don't need a man's touch. She wants to lead the glamorous life without love. It ain't much. It ain't much.
Along with all the sophistication comes the knowledge that the start of the European season can often take the Formula One World Championship in a whole new direction. Fernando Alonso and Renault have dominated the season so far, but here at Imola, Michael Schumacher has put his Ferrari on pole position, as all the passionate fans hoped that he would. But Jenson Button is with him on the front row, and all the ingredients in place for an outstanding San Marino Grand Prix. James Allen takes us through the grid.
San Marino, of all the places Michael Schumacher could overtake Ayrton Senna's record for pole positions. Jenson Button again alongside him, front row for the 3rd race in succession. Through to row 2. And it's Rubens Barrichello, a welcome return to form for him. Felipe Massa, though, a full second slower than Schumacher. What can Alonso do from 5th on the grid? Ralf Schumacher on form on this Bridgestone circuit. Row 4, the 2 McLarens, Raikkonen made a mistake. Row 5, Jarno Trulli, the other Toyota in the top 10, and Mark Webber in the Williams. The big surprise though from qualifying, Fisichella outside the top 10 for Renault, Villeneuve alongside him. Row 7, Rosberg had a crash in free practice and David Coulthard struggling with the Red Bull. Heidfeld crashed in qualifying and Liuzzi alongside him in the Toro Rosso. Then it's Klein and Speed, Formula One's new bad boy, making up row 9. The 2 Midlands didn't make the most of the Bridgestone tyre advantage here. They're on row 10. And the 2 Super Aguris now nibbling at the heels of the Midlands, just half a second off.
It's called the San Marino Grand Prix, but actually the circuit is 60 kilometres away from the Principality in the town of Imola, right amongst the housing estates actually. A 3-mile lap, 16 turns in total. And it's an unusual layout too, very much stop-start. It's heavy on the brakes, heavy on fuel consumption because of hard acceleration, a few high-speed straights and some high-speed chicanes too. You have to also have quite a supple car that's able to take a lot of curb, almost 2/3 of the car off the racetrack, as Michael Schumacher was doing to great effect in qualifying, particularly here up at the very anti-alta chicane. But you do have to be careful. It's an old-style track too, and it's quite narrow, and you don't go very far off the track before you hit something hard. Just as Nico Rosberg found out before qualifying when he hit the wall hard on the exit of the Villeneuve chicane. He'll not be wanting to do that again. Generally though, the drivers love this racetrack.
And the 62 laps of the San Marino Grand Prix will begin when the lights go out. Schumacher on the right, Button on the left. They're away. Traditionally difficult to start off the pit lane side. Button's done well though. Barrichello a little bit slow away and Massa is attacking him. Everybody else attacking as well. Who's going to come out on top between the 2 Brazilians? Massa does, in front of Barrichello, and that must be Alonso. Look, he's already gained places off the start line. No funny business at the back, that's good to see. In the GP2 race this morning there was a big accident on the start, but no problems with the Formula One cars. They are away, Schumacher leading, Button second, Massa third, Alonso and Then we've got Barrichello in the mix as well.
Well, the famous Renault star for Fisichella didn't work from 11th. He's currently running 12th. Alonso, though, did get up to 4th place, but crucially, Michael Schumacher leads the pack. It was the Barrichello must have been the biggest loser there, unfortunately, in terms of positions into that first corner, but exemplary driving. Apparently, there's a yellow flag hanging out somewhere. Oh, we got a car upside down. That is an MF1. And safety car standing by. We talked about this safety car issue. It has been deployed, of course, because they've got to get the driver out of there. Oh, there we go.
It's Albers. Yeah, Albers, you see rolling the car.
He should be okay in that, although you never want to roll over into the gravel trap. That's at the Villeneuve, the exit of the Villeneuve chicane where Rosberg crashed. And the reason that the gravel trap is so nasty is all the rollover safety bars you've got inside the car just dig into the gravel and can often leave your head and neck as quite exposed in those situations. I do believe he should have had enough. He's quite low in the car, isn't he, Albers? So hopefully he will be unharmed in that car.
At home you'll be asking what sort of speed was he doing when he had that roll. Approximately 110 miles an hour is the answer. Down at turn 6, it's the right-hander. It's where Nico Rosberg went off in free practice. And he doesn't look very happy, does he, Albers? Here's another look at the start, Martin.
I thought Schumacher got away slowly initially, but the second phase of the start was perfect for him. And as they come over the line now, it's a restart. Michael hasn't backed them up too much, but he's got enough of a gap, and away they go. Let's see how the relative cars and tyres perform. Now they've lost a bit of temperature and pressure in their tyres, and Jensen looks okay in P2, no doubt about it.
Michael Schumacher leading then, Button second, Massa third, Alonso fourth. Barrichello has dropped back to 5th place. Ralf Schumacher is 6th, Montoya is in 7th place. 8th is Trulli, 9th Webber, and 10th Kimi Räikkönen. He's dropped down a place from the grid. Mark Webber has overtaken him. So Webber possibly off the restart, we didn't see it, getting past Räikkönen.
Now remember I said at the beginning that dream ticket for Ferrari, as they were lighter on fuel, and Honda to a large extent, would be a safety car situation. That surely has helped them, but it was a very short one, wasn't it? Just 2 laps they did under the safety car. There is Ide, who tripped over and rolled the MF1 of Albers, and quite clearly will have front left suspension problems. He's unsurprisingly, it's up on the computer, there will be an investigation involving him and Albers. So we've got 20 runners then. Those two appear to be out of the Grand Prix. Albers upside down and without a wheel left on the car. Ide with front left suspension damage, I would imagine. But Schumacher then has, let's see the first few sectors. Well, Button's pegging him, and so is Massa, and so is Alonso. So they're pretty even Stevens as they get away after the safety car period.
Yeah, it's looking pretty close, isn't it? And Massa's doing a job here for Schumacher because Alonso is tucked up behind him. We expect that the Ferrari's carrying less fuel than the Renaults. The Honda's perhaps possibly carrying even less than the Ferraris. Certainly the paddock sages were thinking Button and Barrichello would come in around about lap 15 or 16. Michael Schumacher around about lap 18 or 19, with Alonso perhaps as late as lap 25. If that is the case, then Alonso certainly at the moment is looking quite good. His last lap time, a 1:27.2, although Michael Schumacher did a 1:26.4, and that's a pretty fast pace for him, opening it out towards the end of the lap. And Button's going after him, though, just a second behind him, with Massa slightly slower than Button at this stage.
Yeah, I think this is, as you say, James, very good for Alonso. He's fatter on fuel and got a clear track, nobody hustling him. He's not having to go defensive. He can make the most of his fuel load, and if he can just hang on somewhere near Massa and he stops 1 time less than the 3 cars in front of him, he's looking in very good shape, isn't he? The people who are in trouble are the 2 McLarens in 7th and 10th. Once again, they can't unravel their great strategy because they're just tucked up in traffic.
And that's one of the Toro Rossos spinning off the track. That's Scott Speed. No, it's Liuzzi. Beg your pardon. Antonio Liuzzi having a little moment there.
And just clumped the curbs too hard. A little bit of a new boy's mistake, that one for Tonio. Jarno Trulli pits for Toyota. Obviously out of sync, out of schedule. Meanwhile, Massa's the man fastest in the first sector of anybody so far. Michael Schumacher leads by a 1.5 seconds from Button. And here is the start again, the front row getting away in unison. It's Barrichello already under pressure before he gets down there. And Massa, his fellow countryman on the outside of him. I can't help but feel Rubens could have been more aggressive there and defended his corner more to be able to be up there to support teammate Button. A lot of action going on. The McLaren's getting wrong-footed at the back there too, looking very cautious down into turn one against the Toyotas. So McLaren quite slow off the line.
Yeah, you could see Raikkonen there just got squeezed out by the two Toyotas, and that really cost him a lot. So Raikkonen is in 9th place. Well, that was a very dramatic accident for Christian Albers. Louise Goodman has found him though.
I have, and he's got a smile on his face, I'm pleased to report. But Christian, you're a bit dizzy after that.
No, not really. But, you know, you can expect this. The problem is, you know, the Super Guris are missing some speed. We, of course, are missing some speed against the other ones, but they try to make everything good in the first lap, you know, first corners. And you see what is happening, you know, and it's really a shame. But, you know, it's one positive thing is that we really have to work on our starts now to be sure that we are stay in front and keep in front, because they're just breaking us down and just taking too much risk, you know. But we can see today again how safe the Formula One is, so it's good.
It's crazy in a way, isn't it? Because it's not really going to affect their race, whether they have a big, massive effort into turn 5 of a Grand Prix. It seems totally unnecessary. But as ever, the spectacular crashes don't hurt the driver, especially when you're spinning around in the air like there's no energy going on. And then when all the wheels start flying off, that's where the energy's dissipated to. And that's why Albers are standing there saying, hey, it wasn't that big a deal, really, because there's no impact as such.
Schumacher beginning to put the hammer down a little bit. The last lap he was 0.3 of a second faster than Jenson Button. This lap he was 0.3 in the first 2 sectors alone, so he's starting to open out a little bit of a margin now. But Alonso is keeping it pegged. His last lap just 0.4 of a second slower than Michael Schumacher's, so the margin just 4.5 seconds at the end of the previous lap, and Schumacher needs more than that really with the different strategies he's got. Alonso doing a good job here to keep the pace up, and Massa, you can see looking in his mirror as well. Not an awful lot he can do at the moment to affect things. He can't go forwards particularly, and he doesn't have Alonso right on his tail at this point. Ralf Schumacher is going quickly in the Toyota in 6th place. All of the front runners, the top 8 runners, are all in the 126s, and that's pretty impressive pace.
So Schumacher leads here at Imola.
Brakes, press 3. Exhaust.
Swiftcover.com. Car insurance without call centres.
Lap 28 of the San Marino Grand Prix at Imola in Italy. A beautiful sunny day here, 43 degrees the track temperature, 28 the air temperature, much warmer than anyone expected. The first round of the European season, and we have got quite a scrap on our hands here. It seemed in the early phases as though Michael Schumacher and Ferrari had done enough to try and get control of this Grand Prix. He stopped earlier than Fernando Alonso for fuel, and he seemed relatively comfortable, particularly as teammate Felipe Massa had backed Alonso up a little bit. But Martin, you spotted some problems with the Ferrari in this middle phase of the Grand Prix.
Yes, I don't think they were able to put brand new tyres on. We're trying to find out, but they're not happy with the car. They're back in the 126s. We were on board with Michael Schumacher briefly, and he's got an armful of understeer. Massa is slow too, and I wonder if they got some graining on the used tyres, something like that. But they've just suddenly lost a bundle of pace. They're nowhere near as fast as they were before the pit stops. And Schumacher's struggling in the mid-26s. You've got Alonso in the low 25s. Button's catching him too from 3rd place. Meanwhile, Massa in 4th place is slipping back into the clutches of Montoya and Webber. So the Ferraris then suddenly have lost all the pace by changing the tyres and putting some more fuel on board. I think Alonso and Button smell an opportunity here, and they're going to pick their pace up and hope to punish Michael Schumacher. Fisichella pits for the first time this afternoon from 7th place. Haven't seen much of him. Some pretty grim afternoons going on out there for several people, actually. Raikkonen back in 8th with no pace whatsoever. Ralf Schumacher slipped back to 9th. The Toyota's slow, as has Barrichello. That's bad news in the other Honda. Meanwhile, he's a couple of seconds behind his teammate at the moment, is Barrichello. Rosberg struggling for Williams. Coulthard in the Red Bull up to P12 now, but generally some difficulties going on back there. But up the front, there are two guys that have really got some fantastic speed. That's Alonso and Button, and they are going to move up behind Michael Schumacher, who's just done a 1:27.0 in clear space. He's going slower and slower at the moment.
1:25.5 for Alonso. The gap comes down to just over 5 seconds, and Button pits for the second time this afternoon. That's pretty early. This is only lap 31. I wonder if that's a problem for Jenson Button. I really hope it isn't, because he was having a super Grand Prix up to that point. In he comes, some changes to the front wing. A little bit of turn, he's obviously... whoa, problems! They nearly knocked his head off. What's the problem with the car? He stopped in the pit lane. Fuel rig was left on the car. It's all gone Pete Tong for Jenson Button. I don't believe it. What rotten luck. Look, it's snapped off.
He can go. If they can get that, he can go. Go for it, Jenson. But that's compromising massively. Of course, his teammate... Look, they put the lollipop down and he elected to ignore that, surprisingly, I have to say. And we'll have to go down into the pit lane, but and Louise is down there.
Yes, I saw that all happening in front of me. The lollipop came down to stop Jenson, but it was too late. It was already on his way. He set off taking half of the fuel rig with him, knocked a couple of the mechanics over at the same time as well. So I think the boys are all okay. There'll be a lot of assessment going on down here to find out exactly how that happened.
It's so frustrating, isn't it? He's so close, and here, of all the races we've had so far this season, this is the closest for him that he is to the pace. In comes the lollipop. Take a good look at the man on the fuel rig. See the hose over his shoulder? Oh, lollipop comes up. He just a clear mistake then. Lollipop man lifted it, and the fuel rig was clearly still attached. So, well, they'll have a discussion about that. Alistair Gibson, I believe, the chief mechanic, is the man on the lollipop. He'll be kicking himself for that one, but poor old Jenson, he was right in the hunt there as well. Different strategy from the others, though. Three-stopper, but the pace he was going at looked like he was going to make it work for himself for a podium here this afternoon. While all that drama has been going on, though, Martin, Alonso now just over 4 seconds behind Michael Schumacher. He's halved the margin to Michael in the last 5 or 6 laps.
Ralf Schumacher pits for the second time in the Toyota. He was 7. Montoya just 0.7 of a second behind Felipe Massa in the second Ferrari. And lapping, I'm sure he'd be lapping quite a bit quicker if he could just pass him, but such a difficult racetrack to pass on. On board with Montoya, trying to find his way past what I think was a Williams, and not at all happy about that. So look at Alonso, look how much later on the brakes he can be, because when your front tyres are not giving you the grip you need, James, you lose braking ability as well as turn in too. And you just can't stamp on the brake pedal anywhere near as late if you've not got the purchase of the front tyre into the tarmac.
Well, around about 5 or 6 laps to go to Schumacher's next stop. I think he can't wait to get a new set of tyres on. Alonso's just going to have to probably sit there behind him unless he's feeling incredibly brave and wants to have a pass. We've certainly seen him do that before in the past. He's not afraid of overtaking Michael Schumacher at all. That's how he caught him over the last few laps, you can see. And what's he going to do now he's caught him? And will Schumacher be able to do anything with a new set of tyres once he gets them? Probably not, because Alonso has the advantage tactically as well here. He can go longer on the fuel, and it's looking pretty comfortable for Fernando Alonso. But I imagine the temptation to want to overtake Michael Schumacher, whilst he's a bit of a wounded animal at the moment, must be enormous. But if he doesn't do anything rash, Alonso can definitely win this Grand Prix. So, Ted Kravitz, what do you got?
Yeah, down at Ferrari, I've asked again what the problem is with Michael, and they say there's no problem with the car, using the word car, and all the tyre guys looking very concerned, doing their nut is Michael's engineer, Chris Dyer, on the pit wall. At Renault, meantime, they haven't had to tell anything to Fernando Alonso. They know that he can manage this period of the race, and that he'll take the chance when it comes.
Here we go then, 23 laps still remaining in this race, and a comfortable situation for Alonso, no doubt about it. Behind them, Massa is closing in. This is bringing the 3rd, 4th and 5th place and 6th place runners much closer to the front now, the slow pace of the front runners. Massa is now just 14 seconds behind this battle for the lead. Montoya is just right behind him. Webber is 9 seconds behind Montoya in 5th place. Raikkonen is 6th as Alonso has another look up the inside of Michael Schumacher. And is he going to have a crack at it? Oh, he's getting very close now, Martin. Very close. They're lapping in the high 127s, and they're actually holding up Clean and Liuzzi now, I think.
Meanwhile, Webber in 5th place is doing a 25.4, quickest man on the racetrack. They're flying back there. This is just concertinaing the whole field back up again. I can't believe it's tactical from Michael Schumacher. There's no point in trying to bring Massa and co back into play, because with Massa, he just brings Montoya, Webber and Raikkonen with him. Button, after his dramas, is in 7th place at the moment. Fisichella 8th in the second Renault. But I just can't see any reason why Michael would be intentionally backing the pack up. I think he just doesn't, well, I can see for myself, he hasn't got any front grip.
Yeah, that's the problem for the Ferrari. They've come here with a raft of changes to the car, which certainly seem through free practice and qualifying to have made a big difference. This is traditionally a Bridgestone track, and they are on the Bridgestone tyre. Alonso using the Michelin tyre. Webber also is using the Bridgestone. There's nothing wrong with his pace, as you said. A low 1:25 at the moment, fastest man on the racetrack. So it's not particularly a Bridgestone problem per se, other than the set of Bridgestones that Michael Schumacher has on that car at this particular time. They worked fine in the first stint, and not so well now. Renault mechanics getting ready for one of their drivers.
But if they bring Alonso in now, Fisichella's not that long ago pitted, so if they bring Alonso in now, oh, he's well wide there, isn't he? Then they're going to feed him right back into the Webber-Raikkonen scrap for 5th and 6th, unless it's a very, very quick stop.
But the thing is, Martin, they've looked at it and realised that everybody else is closing up behind them. If they don't bring him in now, knowing that Schumacher will be pitting in the next lap or two himself, that they could actually get leapfrogged by someone behind them, like Massa, for example, or Montoya. So it's vitally important. It's quite clever thinking by Pat Simmons. I think he's going to bring him in, knowing that Ferrari are going to make a stop as well, and knowing that the field are concertinaing up. Alonso gets the call. In he comes. A tactical switch by Pat Simmons. Ted Kravitz taken away.
But Ferrari are out in the pit lane as well. So it looks like that's going to be for the other one, for Felipe Massa. But that would have worried Pat Simmons, and he had a little smile to Pat Simmons when he made that decision. Excellent, excellent stop by Renault. Let's see what Ferrari can do to respond. Here's
Surely
Massa.
Ferrari will respond instantly. They'll get Massa dispatched, and surely they'll bring Michael in straight away as well at the end of this lap to respond to that. And that's the only thing they can do to keep Michael Schumacher in the hunt. Alonso's got to pull out some kind of stunning outlap as well now.
Yep, he's in luck though, Alonso. He cleared Montoya. He's in front of one Montoya. And with Felipe Massa having pitted as well, it looks like it's worked out beautifully for Renault, for Pat Simmons, the tactical genius on the wall, and for Fernando Alonso. Ferrari, well, they were going to come in roughly now anyway. We knew that from the fuel load that they took on at the first round of pit stops. Renault knew that as well, and that is very good thinking.
Bit of traffic coming up then for Michael Schumacher as well. It makes it doubly hard to overtake them, even with blue flags. If you've not got the car underneath you, we're hearing that Christian Klein has retired. Toro Rosso there, I think, was just getting out of the way rather than struggling necessarily. There's Schumacher running very, very wide in the exit of Rivazza 2. Will they pit him immediately? I think they will. I think they should, and I think they definitely are. It's the only thing they can do. They have to respond to the Renault pit stop.
But I think this is scheduled anyway. I think this is when they were going to come in, Martin. This is lap 43, and that's roughly bang on target. So they were nothing much they could really do about it.
Used tyres, so they're certainly not new fronts. It's a slower stop. Where's Fernando Alonso? Has he gone through? He's going past us now. He's not made it. Michael Schumacher's come out in front. That's the problem. If he did have to stop, then they made a tactical error, because Alonso, we think, had the extra fuel. He could have gone on for 5 or 6 laps. It's not worked out for Renault.
Sorry, please hold.
But I'm only 50 yards from the line.
Sorry, please hold. Sorry.
Swiftcover.com. Car insurance
Sorry,
without call
please hold.
centres.
Into the closing stages of the San Marino Grand Prix. We've had over 50 racing laps here, and 2 of the finest drivers in the world are just 0.3 of a second apart. Michael Schumacher is in trouble, not as much as he was in the middle part of this Grand Prix, but he's still struggling for pace at this point. He started this race from pole position with Fernando Alonso, who's currently in 2nd place and really hassling him, starting from 5th. Alonso had a great start though. Michael Schumacher leading away from Jenson Button, also on the front row of the grid. And Button was really a match for Schumacher in the early part of this Grand Prix. We had a safety car early on when Christian Albers in the Midland had a spectacular roll on the opening lap. Alonso went quite long on the fuel. It really worked for him, and he played himself into contention, getting himself ahead of Jenson Button, who's been on a different strategy from the others. He's run 3 stops this afternoon. Unfortunately for Jenson, his second stop went all wrong when the lollipop was lifted up while the fuel hose was still attached, and it ripped it away from the hose and knocked a few mechanics over as well, and Jenson really fell out of contention for a podium at that point. He is currently in 7th place. Well, Michael Schumacher didn't like the second set of tyres he took on this afternoon, and his pace was terrible in the middle part of the Grand Prix. It allowed Alonso to close right up to him. Renault made a tactical switch, bringing Alonso in a little early, but it backfired on him. Ferrari came in the lap after, and Michael Schumacher rejoined in front of Alonso. Alonso having had a little bit of traffic on his outlap, and Schumacher not being quite as slow as Renault thought he was on that in lap, and that's why we are where we are.
David Coulthard has pulled out of the race, and Louise Goodman has found him.
Yeah, it's been a double retirement for the Red Bull team. Christian Klein had to stop with a hydraulics failure, and then David, a few laps later, you've had to park it as well.
Yeah, we had a drive shaft failure, which I had a problem getting away at the pit stop, so I ended up having to do a double pull away, so that may have caused the damage, but obviously we'll find out in the data. But anyway, we lost drive.
Oh, Alonso running very well. They just kept it out of the gravel. Got it a little bit tail happy in the middle of the Villeneuve chicane. But let's see how quickly now he closes Michael Schumacher back in. But if it's going to be a very exciting last 5 laps, well, 3 of them have just been wasted while he then has to get back into the hunt. But, well, Rosberg went off there just before qualifying, didn't he, and got on the gravel and just smashed straight into the wall. There's nowhere to go there. It dropped the back end just as he was about to ride over the curb, and it nearly spat the car clean off the racetrack.
Well, you would have put your house on Alonso winning this Grand Prix in the run-up to the second round of pit stops. He was so much faster than Michael Schumacher. He had plenty of fuel in the car to go further than him. Schumacher was very, very slow. They were getting backed up towards the rest of the field. Renault made a tactical switch, and it didn't work for them. And that was the turning point of this Grand Prix. And, well, there'll be an awful lot of talk, I'm sure, with Steve and Mark Blundell, and they'll be finding out exactly what that was all about after this Grand Prix, so stick with us for that. And also you can follow the story later on the ITV F1 website as well, because that for sure is the story of the 2006 San Marino Grand Prix.
Now there is a back marker looming up, but Alonso's put himself out of position now, is not going to be able to try and make use of it. That's the problem with those little mistakes. But if Renault could have gone further, you'd have to say it was a mistake, because Ferrari were, even though Massa was in the pits, they had a half a lap to get themselves prepared. I don't think they were expecting Michael that lap, because I was looking out the window as you're talking, and the mechanics were rushing around like crazy. I think it was quite a last-minute decision to bring Michael in, and Ferrari were only ever going to react to what we think was an early stop by Alonso and just cover him off, and that's what they did.
Yeah, for sure. Maybe he was a lap or two earlier than scheduled. It was certainly in his pit stop window, but maybe they did, that's right, react to and bring him in, and in which case the fact that Schumacher had a good in-lap, better than Renault had expected, and the fact that Alonso came out in traffic was enough to turn this Grand Prix for him in Michael Schumacher's favour and send him on his way to his 85th, count them, 85th career victory.
It's been an afternoon of disappointment for a lot of people. Button down in 7th from the front row of the grid after that fuel rig problem, but he was 3-stopping and wasn't going to be up with these boys anyway on that strategy. Fisichella's gone from 11th to 8th in the sister Renault, which is pretty unspectacular, you'd have to say. The only man really outperforming his car, I think, out there's Mark Webber in 6th place for Williams, also on Bridgestone tyres, of course, but a lot of lacklustre performances, I think.
So Michael Schumacher has done it on home soil for Ferrari. He has won the San Marino Grand Prix to put to an end a very, very long losing streak for him and Ferrari, to put to an end Renault's winning streak. They are beaten for the first time in 2006. Juan Montoya gets a podium in 3rd place for McLaren. Massa is 4th for Ferrari. Raikkonen is 5th for McLaren. Then it'll be Webber, Jenson Button, who certainly would have been on the podium but for that pit stop problem he had, 2nd time in a pit stop, and then 8th will be Giancarlo Fisichella. It's win number 85 then for Michael Schumacher. The Tifosi pouring onto the track. And the key question now is, was this an Imola flash in the pan, or can Ferrari keep the momentum going?
How hard was it defending from Alonso at the end of the race?
Yeah, luckily on this circuit, you just need to watch in certain areas out a little bit, but it's very difficult for the person behind to go for an overtaking. I've seen that last year, so I knew what it would be for him this year.
Were you happy to settle for second?
Yes, today yes. We know Imola has been always a Ferrari track. Even last year that Ferrari were really slow. In Imola they were dominant. So we knew before came here that was difficult to win. So the second place is the second best result.
Do you believe this is a showing of real pace from Ferrari, or do you think at the Nürburgring, when Michelin are back on it, and McLaren will be strong again?
Last year was the same thing here, and I hope it's only one, to be honest. No, I don't have anything against Ferrari, but Bridgestone runners, they seem to be really strong here in qualifying and make their lives very difficult. I think Michelin did a fantastic job with the tires. We had no graining whatsoever today, and they were really consistent. So it's really good.
If you look in the end, I mean, win the race with Michael and arrive 4th and bring a lot of points home is the most important thing, and I'm quite happy that now I could finish in the points, and hopefully we carry on like that every race.
If you're quick and you don't get the result, it doesn't make any difference. It's a bit like McLaren last year when they had a very quick car and they didn't ever finish a race, at the start of the season. So we've got to start getting some results, and we know the pace is there, but it's not good enough to say it will come. We need it now. We need to start scoring some points and some podiums, and there was definitely a chance of a podium finish there. The car was running very strong, and I think we could have had Montoya.
Michael Schumacher then with one of the most hard-fought of his 7 wins in the San Marino Grand Prix, and a very important breakthrough indeed for Ferrari. Renault and Alonso at last have to settle for second, Montoya third for McLaren, then Massa, Raikkonen and Webber before a very disappointed Jenson Button, with Giancarlo Fisichella completing the point scorers. No great damage done to Alonso's championship challenge. He's still 17 points clear of second place Michael Schumacher in that Drivers' Championship, with Kimi Raikkonen in third. And Renault 18 points clear of McLaren in the Constructors' Championship, with Ferrari in third place in that. We can hear from Stefano Domenicali, sporting director of Ferrari. Great day for the team, and we've seen from the celebrations that have surrounded the team in the last hour or so exactly what it means.
I mean, it was a tough race, but it was important for us, as we said yesterday, because after such a difficult start of the season, we need to show that we took the right direction after the test we did in Barcelona. So really happy, also because it was, if you remember last year, it was the opposite.
Yes.
It was tough for us to be behind. This year was really tough to be in front.
Well, that meant that the pit stop, that final pit stop, was all important. What was the feeling when you came out in front?
I have to say that the guys did a great job. I mean, we used to say that it's a half pit stop when it's a crucial one, and I have to say that both for Michael were really crucial, and they did very well.
It's been a while coming, this victory, and did the celebrations mean it's great to win at Imola, or we're back and we're going to push on in this championship?
No, first of all, it's good to celebrate just a couple of hours, and that's it, because tomorrow we need to go back and think of what we did right and wrong, and keep the concentration for the next race. It's good to win in Imola because we are at home, but it's good to win because as we said, we didn't have a great start, and now we are back in the right pace.
When you look back at the whole race weekend, what exactly was the significance of Michael taking that pole position? It was almost everything, wasn't it?
That's true. I mean, here it's really difficult to overtake, and he did a great job yesterday. He did a fantastic race today, so looking forward to the next one.
Stefano, thanks very much, and congratulations to Michael and to Ferrari. Before we press on with further opinions from Mark Blunt.